I know, HR. It's painful to see. I did not know the Green Bay Packers were 1-9 outdoors on artificial turf, which of course means on the road because they play on natural grass at Lambeau Field. 1-9 outdoors, artificial. Now 1-10. And they travel to New Jersey next week to play the New York Giants, also outdoors and on natural artificial turf. And then they go to the Metrodome where they've had some trouble. Privately, I didn't make a public prediction on the game last night, but privately I was telling everybody that I thought the Steelers would get mauled. I didn't think they could score enough points to keep up with the Green Bay Packers. And it's amazing. I don't mind admitting I have been wrong on virtually every serious NFL prediction I have made this year, ladies and gentlemen. Every one. If I would simply employ the old-time, tested, environmental wacko method, I'm sure I'd be a lot better along. Of course, last night would have been tough. Steelers and Packers, you got two teams of evil. Using the environmentalist wacko method last night, I don't know what I would have done. Probably gone with a home team, given that evil is much more comfortable at home than on the road, and I'm giving the edge that way. But picking them straight up as teams, I would have gone with the Packers. Anyway, how are you, folks? Rush Limbaugh, the Excellence in Broadcasting Network, at 1-800-282-2882. That's the phone number. Our email address is rush@eibnet.com. Well, it appears, ladies and gentlemen, that the public is being ignored when it comes to the impeachment of the President of the United States. The House Judiciary Committee is proceeding. Yesterday was sort of a pro forma session of the House Judiciary Committee. They had a session yesterday that the House Judiciary Committee has never, ever had. Yesterday's session was to debate and define impeachable offenses before the actual hearings begin. It's never happened. Never, ever has a Judiciary Committee sat down and set up a list of impeachable offenses first and then proceeded. But if you listen to the likes of John Conyers and Maxine Waters and Gerald Nadler, you would believe that the norm is to define impeachable offenses first and then proceed, when in fact it has never happened. We have some sound bites from the hearings yesterday. There's also a really brilliant piece today in the Wall Street Journal by Bill Bennett entitled "What We Know Continued." He wrote a piece for the Wall Street Journal some months ago detailing the facts that we knew at the time about the president's behavior. And it was an effort, of course, to alert people and get them up to speed. He's now followed it up with "What We Know Continued." It's too long to read this thing to you on the air. Much too long. But it's powerful to read this. It's in the Wall Street Journal today, and the amount of facts, the number of things that are known, it is incredible when you read this and then juxtapose it with the public's perception that none of it matters. It's mind-boggling. It really is. Last night also, and we'll have, as I say, some sound bites from statements made by various members of the committee yesterday. And in fact, we're even going to let you hear some of the learned scholars who appeared, at least one, Arthur Schlesinger Jr., who thinks that there's nothing impeachable here at all. And he led that effort. 400 historians signed a document, a letter. There's nothing impeachable here. You guys should drop it. And the following week gets a humanitarian award from the president. The Washington Post today also has a front page story detailing that the President of the United States was deeply involved, in fact, leading the effort to prevent Secret Service officers from testifying in the Paula Jones case. The interesting thing here is that for months, the White House and the president portrayed him as virtually disinterested. He was simply casually observing. Well, Secret Service, that's not really my bailiwick. I mean, I have nothing to do with what they're doing. I agree with it, but I'm not paying much attention to it. That's their ball game, so to speak. Well, it turns out that the president was deeply involved and, in fact, leading the effort to keep the Secret Service from testifying. Now we know, because the Supreme Court said yesterday they have to testify that there is no such thing as a protective function privilege. Newt Gingrich in his farewell address last night to 250 eager beavers at GoPac in Washington, televised on CNN, televised also on C-SPAN. We have excerpts via sound bites of Mr. Newt's speech last night. Let you hear some of it today. It's easy to make one observation, and I'm sure that many of you who watched the speech last night are going to make the same observation. Where was this? Where was this? Where was this in the past year? Why make the speech now that you're gone? Why now? Why couldn't you have made this speech 2 weeks before the election? Why couldn't you have made this speech in February and then been acting on this stuff? Why now? And I have a theory about that. I actually have a theory. I think that Newt became a prisoner of his office. I think to go out and make a speech like that as Speaker of the House, strange as it sounds, might have led, well, might have, there's no question about it, it would have led to scurrilous attacks on Newt by the press and the liberal Democrats in the House of Representatives, who, have you noticed, are acting like they run the show. I was watching last night during commercial breaks. I'd channel surf around during commercial breaks of the Pittsburgh Steelers mauling of the Green Bay Packers. And that's what it was up until the last half of the fourth quarter. I switched over to PMS NBC. Oh, by the way, speaking of PMS NBC, Keith Olbermann is leaving. He's leaving his two shows, The Big Show and The White House in Crisis, because he's fed up with both topics. He's fed up with the Lewinsky scandal and impeachment as topics number 1 and 2, and he wants to get back to sports. So Fox Sports has paid PMS NBC seven-figure sum to buy Olbermann's contract out. Olbermann will start in December, the first part of December, at the Fox Sports Network as a nightly anchor. Also leaving ESPN is Chris Myers. Chris Myers is a good guy. Chris Myers does the Up Close show that airs at 6 Eastern on ESPN. He's a great guy. He's really good. I'm happy for him. If this is something, they're probably going to get a little bit more high-profile role at Fox Sports rather than just the 1 30-minute show that he has now on ESPN. But anyway, I'm switching over, and I'm watching Brian Williams interview Richard Gephardt. You know, I'm in a bit of a quandary here, ladies and gentlemen, because I'll be honest with you. I've been sitting behind this, the golden EIB microphone, now into our 11th year. And prior to that, 4 years in Sacramento, California. And they have been intense years. We're now in essence, what is the 15th year, at least for me, it's the 15th year of doing this program as I do it and talking about the things that I am deeply passionate about. One of those things has always been media bias. And one of the frustrating things is that, okay, you get the opportunity to point it out, as I have had over the last 15 years. But you figure after 15 years of pointing it out, if people don't get it or do get it, I mean, 15 years, you've given it your best shot. 15 years, and what more can you do after 15 years? How many examples of media bias do you need to cite? In fact, as you go on through the 15 years, you become numb to it. Now there's media bias. It's just part of the land. It's part of the landscape. It's not unusual. It's not outrageous. Well, it is outrageous, but it's not unusual. And as I've said to you on countless occasions, if we wanted to, we could turn this program over to 3 hours each day of callers reporting examples of media bias. We could do a whole week's worth of shows featuring that subject, and I'm sure that nobody would call and repeat an example offered by another caller. There's that much of it. But over the past couple of years, I've said, look, it's part of the landscape. It's like calling up and saying, hey, you know what? The sky's blue today, Rush. Nobody's interested. It's not news. It isn't any big deal. The people have been so educated and made alert to it that they see it themselves now. A lot of people still think they're the only ones that see us. They recognize it. And they call, hey, I saw some media bias last night. I got to tell people. Well, everybody notices it. But it seems now to even be getting worse, if that's possible. And I'm in a dilemma because I'm just outraged by it, but so what? What good is being outraged by it going to do? It's not going to change. The best bet has always been to try to educate people so that when they see it, they're not influenced by it, but it appears that that doesn't work. In fact, let me give you the PMS NBC example first. Interviewing Gephardt. Brian Williams is interviewing Gephardt. And it is obvious, to me anyway, I could be wrong, but as a consumer of news, as a viewer of that program last night, it was apparent to me that Brian Williams was extremely happy to be conducting the interview in the tone and with the attitude that he was. He was treating Gephardt as the majority leader in the House of Representatives. Richard Gephardt, who is the minority leader. He is the leader of the Democrats who are in the minority. And he's talking to Gephardt about Newt's resignation as Speaker and Bob Livingston's ascension to the speakership. And what the Republicans have to do now. The whole tone of it was what the Republicans must do to move the Democrat agenda forward. And the conversation, well, Gephardt said, well, what happens is that Livingston's got to get hold of his extreme right wing and silence those people and reach out to us to advance the agenda that the American people told us they want advanced in the elections. I'm sitting there and I'm steaming. Who should reach out to who? Why should we reach out to them? Why should we try to bridge a gap and be like them? Why should we extend our hands? Okay, we will bury our own. We'll throw some of our own overboard just to get along with you and just to advance your agenda. Why should they be setting the agenda? I don't blame them for trying to portray this attitude on TV since it has so much impact with viewers. But I still can't escape the fact that it just frosts me. It just makes me livid. And I'm reading the New York Times today, and there is an op-ed piece by somebody, I forget who it is, but the guy's point is that, thank God, spin doesn't work. I said, spin doesn't work? You know what his evidence for spin doesn't work is? All these cable shows, these 24-hour cable networks. Yep, every night for 10 months on these cable networks, the media was spinning the news that the president needed to be impeached. He wasn't going to last. He needed to be thrown out of office. The American people, in their wisdom, didn't respond to this spin. It was great, this guy says. It's tremendous. The American people give him a lot of credit. They didn't respond to it. I said, gee whiz, what did this guy see when he watched these shows? I guess he didn't recognize the spin of the Peter Fenns, of the James Carvilles, of the Jennifer Laszlo's, of the Alan Dershowitzes. I guess those people weren't there. I guess they weren't doing spin. And I guess all these hosts and hostettes who have an obvious allegiance to the liberal democratic side of things, I guess they weren't there either. The only people spinning were the evil Republicans and conservatives on these shows. And their spin, their lies. The American people didn't go for it. This guy, whoever he is, and I can't grasp his name if I didn't print the piece out, but he's a political science professor at some institution of higher learning in the United States. I got to take a quick break here, folks. We'll be back in just a moment. Here again, the phone number, 800-282-2882. Stay with us.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Have you been following the newspaper accounts of how poorly American students read? The word's out. From now on, students with poor reading skills can and will be held back. That's how important reading skills are. Listen, don't let this happen to your son or daughter. Don't let them fail over something that's so fun and easy to correct. You got to get them the phonics game, as I did for my niece. Just let your student play the phonics game. You'll be amazed how quickly you see a jump in reading, spelling, and vocabulary skills. The system even comes with a promise of a full letter grade higher on your student's next report card, or you get your money back. All students progress differently, but don't let poor reading and English skills ruin your child or teenager's future. For your child's sake, order the phonics game today and receive the comprehension game, a $30 value, free with your order. Visit phonicsgame.com or call them. The number is 1-800-243-READ. If you can read, that's R-E-A-D. Otherwise, 800-243-READ.
There are only two things in life that are certain: paying taxes and dying. While we can't put off paying taxes, you and your family can live a longer and healthier life by supplementing your diet for ultimate health. Now, there's a phenomenal way to purchase all your health products at wholesale prices. Call TRC at 1-800-845-4153. Prepaid freight and discounts up to 40% are available on nearly 150 health food supplements. Just dial 1-800-845-4153 for a free catalog. That's 1-800-845-4153.
How would you like to come home to free groceries from Winn-Dixie, a room full of furniture from Haverty's, or a new Toyota Camry in the driveway? Enter WRAL's Welcome Home Contest. Drop by any Winn-Dixie to pick up a mail-in entry form. Then watch WRAL's 6 o'clock news. If you see your name during the break, call in to claim your prize. For every entry received, WRAL will donate $1 to Habitat for Humanity. The address for fantastic prizes is WRAL. Welcome home.
Millions watched part one of Alex Haley's Mama Flora's family through poverty, prejudice, and betrayal.
Where are you taking my baby?
One woman struggled to keep her family together. Now her sacrifices will come back to haunt her.
What kind of mother gives a child up to strangers?
Didn't a day go by that I didn't think about you?
Cicely Tyson, Blair Underwood, Mario Van Peebles, and Queen Latifah star in the conclusion of Alex Haley's Mama Flora's family.
Tonight, beginning at 9 on WRAL TV5.
Hey, man, whatever happened to Rodriguez?
He's making a lot of money.
Dope, huh?
No, smart. He took some algebra, geometry, and calculus in high school, went to college, and ended up with his killer job as an electrical engineer.
What about Bish? Wonder if he ever made the NBA.
He's a CPA, certified public accountant. Last I heard, he was working for the NBA, though. He was into advanced math, too.
Well, what about Jonesy?
She's living in some oceanfront place in Miami.
He must have married rich.
The guy who married her married rich. She's an architect.
Yeah?
So, hey, man, what happened to you?
They told me I didn't have to take math, so I didn't. I just got a job, though. Not the best pay or hours, but it's close to home. I've been living with my mom.
Yeah, I remember your mom. She was always peeking around the corner, trying to see what we were up to.
She still does that.
Yeah, well, they told me not to take math, too. But, you know me. I never listen to nobody. So, I gotta go pee.
Hey, nice car.
For more information on how the power of math can improve your life and how you can demand that power, call NACME at 1-800-97-NACME.
A message from the National Action Council for Minorities in Engineering and the Ad Council.
WGBR.
Samuel Popkin is the author of this piece in the New York Times I've just been talking about. The American people are now oblivious to spin and have the brains to see past it. Washington Times has an interesting little aside today in the inside politics section of the paper. Balint Vazony, and I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. I'm probably not. It's V-A-Z-S-O-N-Y. Balint Vazony. He is a Hungarian emigre. He's a classical pianist. And he is, in his own way, prodding conservatives in the Republican Party via writings and speeches to do the right thing. He's one of the many who are trying to urge conservatives who are elected to maintain their backbone, to not go wobbly on us. He says that he was surprised to discover that 5 of the members of the House Judiciary Committee are actually members of something called the Democratic Socialists of America. The Democratic Socialists of America is the principal U.S. affiliate of the Socialist International. Listed among the 58 members of the House Progressive Caucus, proud promoter of the progressive agenda of the Democratic Socialists of America, are John Conyers, the Judiciary Committee's ranking minority member, Barney Frank, Maxine Waters, Robert Scott, Bobby Scott of Virginia, and Gerald Nadler, known to some as the Waddler, of New York. These are all members of the Democratic Socialists of America, the principal U.S. affiliate of the Socialist International. There are 58 members of the House who are members of the Democratic Socialists of America. They call themselves the House Progressive Caucus. What do they believe? What is the progressive agenda of these people, including the 5 Democrats who serve on the House Judiciary Committee who are members? They believe in cutting defense spending by 50%. They believe in massive government public works programs to ensure full employment, Canadian-style single-payer health care reform, and broader affirmative action programs in hiring, promotion, and scholarship. So Balint points out that while the House Judiciary Committee struggles here with the process of impeachment, which is maybe the greatest demand the Constitution makes of legislators, these 5 are aligned with a political philosophy at odds with the very Constitution they are sworn to enforce. The rule of law is essentially neutral, says Balint. He grew up under the National Socialism of the Nazis and later the Communists. Socialism removes the blindfold and makes law the servant of its political agenda. He says the law is neutral. These people are at odds with the very Constitution they're sworn to enforce here, by virtue of the signatory agenda that they have signed on to. I thought it was an interesting little point. You know, it doesn't surprise me. None of this stuff surprises me anymore. It just outrages me. You read Bill Bennett's piece today in the Wall Street Journal. There is no thinking intellectual person who can read that and simply put it aside and not have it move them in some way. This incredible list, this lengthy column entitled What We Know About All This. You want to hear a little bit of John Conyers? This is John Conyers yesterday, part of his opening statement at the impeachment hearings, the Judiciary Committee, as they discussed what is and what is not impeachable offenses. Cut 1. Dave, are you ready with that? Yeah, here we go. Here's John Conyers, a little bit of what he said yesterday.
There is no crime of perjury arising out of questions the government doesn't have the legal authority to ask. We must stop at the earliest moment this terrible carnival, this confusing, anguishing national experience that is before us.
There's a little problem. How do you stop it? Once the process is underway, it's a constitutionally described, mandated process. It is the Constitution here that is actually on trial in a way. When you have this much disagreement over what an impeachable offense is and whether or not we should proceed, it's the Constitution. When you have people saying, no impeachment, we need to censure, you have the Constitution on trial. And what you have here are people not so much pursuing Bill Clinton, but rather doing their best to uphold and maintain, defend, and protect, if you will, on this, the 222nd birthday of the Marines, the Constitution of the United States. That's what's being discussed here in Truth. We'll be back in a moment. Hey, you shopping for airline tickets? Well, here's some great money-saving news. Listen to this. For the first time, you can name the price you want to pay for leisure airline tickets with a new service called Priceline, available on the internet at Priceline.com. Name any price you want to pay and get your answer, yes or no, in just 1 hour. There are no minimum prices. There is no charge to submit a request. Priceline is easy to use. Visit them on the internet at Priceline.com. That's Priceline on the web at Priceline.com.
It's time for a look at local news. I'm Thomas Vick on 1150 WGBR. A mess over Surrey Road in the east part of the city of Goldsboro. The road has been closed for over 30 years by a court's order. Now some want it reopened, some don't. Last night, residents Jerry Farrell Jr., Toby Suggs, and Walter Deans appeared before the council saying the council should do everything possible to reopen Surrey Road because its closure has forced a tremendous inconvenience on the people of Green Meadows 1 and Green Meadows 2. The men noted residents now have to go down to Highway 111 and turn around to go to Ash Street, calling it going around your elbow to get to your thumb. And school buses also pick up students on the highway instead of going into the subdivision because Surrey Street is closed. The men reiterated how dangerous this is and the whole situation needs to be handled. The men were speaking their general appearance before the board where they had to write ahead of time and get permission to appear before the council since there was no scheduled public hearing on the matter. Well, on the other hand, there was about 30 people in the audience at last night's city council meeting because they did not get permission ahead of time to appear before the board. Therefore, they couldn't speak. According to resident leader Henny Carlisle, the group found out at the last minute the men were going to address the council, so they decided to come and hear the presentation. Carlisle says the people in the audience represented a portion of the 95% of the residents in Green Meadows, one that want the road to stay closed. Carlisle says she has a petition with their signatures saying they want the road to remain closed because it's against the law for it to be there. Carlisle says the road goes against the original restrictive covenants that called for Green Meadows 1 and 2 to be cul-de-sac communities with no roads through them. Carlisle says it's the feeling of those that signed the paper that they bought their houses in Green Meadows because of the original covenants calling for no roads. It was that way then, and they want it to stay that way now. The courts agree that the road is illegal and it should have never been there in the first place. The court originally ruled the road to be closed because it violated the covenants. The defendant then appealed, and the appellate court reportedly ruled the road be closed and the land be divided up. As it stands now, the road is closed. Mayor Hal Plunk says all the comments made about Surrey Road, but will be taken into consideration. But as far as the city council doing anything, he's not sure if there is anything they can do. Former City Councilman Phil Woodward Sr. said this morning he would not submit an application to the Goldsboro City Council to fill the District 2 vacancy created by the tragic death of Tim Bartlett. Woodward says he feels that it should be left up to a younger generation, adding he felt that way when he chose not to seek re-election after 16 years of service. That's a look at local news. I'm Thomas Vick on 1150 WGBR.
Well, cloud cover should be rather variable across the region this afternoon with an increasing southerly breeze and still a small chance of a sprinkler shower here and there. We'll look for highs around 70 to 75 degrees. Tonight, cloudy. We'll have a couple of bands of gusty showers and thunderstorms moving into and across the area overnight. Look for lows in the upper 50s to low 60s. Most of that activity moving off to the east early tomorrow. Could see a lingering shower in the morning. We'll look for partial clearing by around lunchtime. Highs tomorrow, 66 to 71. I'm Mike Moss at the Weather Center.
WGBR.
On the cutting edge, Rush Limbaugh, the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. All right, we've heard from John Conyers. Here now is Henry Hyde, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, summing up the reason for the hearings and why they will proceed.
It's important. It's critical. It defines our country from most of the countries throughout history. And anything that erodes, that taints, that corrodes, that diminishes the rule of law is something we ought to be mindful of and be very careful about. I don't want that torn down or diminished or turned into a piece of plastic that can be molded. I really believe that notion that no man is above the law. That's naive of me, I suppose. There are some people who are above the law, but they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be. And we should have a government of laws, not of men. And we're going in the other direction. All of the sophistries that I hear, rationales, justifications, everybody does it. It was just about sex. It's perjury. I swear to tell the truth. The whole system of justice depends on that, doesn't it?
He's trying to be very passionate. Notice the soft-spokenness. There wasn't any shrillness there. There wasn't any table pounding. There wasn't any thumping. There wasn't any shouting. There was an appeal there, an appeal to reach out. Try to get people who don't care or think it's no big deal to try to understand what's at stake here. Rule of law, Constitution of the United States, nobody being above the rule of law. As you know, Arthur Schlesinger Jr., one of the nation's foremost historians, leader of the Gang of 400, which signed a letter saying there is no impeachable offense here, stirred up Bob Inglis yesterday. He is from South Carolina. He lost, by the way, in his senatorial bid against Ernest Hollings. He of the "it's too much consuming going on out there" fame. Inglis is frustrated as he can be. He's outraged at Schlesinger and Schlesinger's comments that it's okay to lie when it comes to sexual harassment. When it comes to sex, it's okay to lie about sex, and that isn't impeachable. Here's what Inglis had to say.
We're constituted here as Committee of the Judiciary, but we're going to leave it to somebody else. See if maybe later some U.S. District Attorney might like to take up a matter against the President of the United States, Mr. Clinton, and Professor Sunstein may come and assist in that case, possibly. But we on the committee, well, we turn the other way because under Mr. Schlesinger's point of view, it's okay. Lie if you're the president. Lie in a case involving sex. Because after all, he says, gentlemen do that. And if you're not a gentleman, apparently, well, you just not be with it if you didn't lie about sex. So for all those folks out there, too, question our rule of law, dealing with sexual harassment, lie if you wish.
Ooh, there you go. We're going to set a standard here. That's what I've been suggesting, that what we do is, and I think one of the first acts of this Congress, in fact, I think that what Livingston ought to do, if Livingston, the new speaker-to-be, all goes as planned, what he ought to, his first step ought to be to say, I'm listening to the people. We Republicans have heard the people. And so we today propose legislation that removes sex from the subject matter for which one could be convicted of perjury if one discusses in an untruthful way. It's okay. Just pass a law. Just put it up there. You know the president will sign it. And apparently the Democrats in the House of Representatives will lap it up, just suck it up as fast as they can. They'll sign it too. Just say there's no such thing. You can, in fact, don't, to make it a positive. Lying about sex in a lawsuit is what is expected of every American. It's the gentlemanly thing to do. It's the honorable thing to do. You must protect the reputation of the woman involved, or the man involved if you happen to be a woman who's been similarly charged. Just make it part of the law. It's the only way to do this. It's the only way to do it. You cannot have there be a law that says perjury is an offense and then exempt some people from it. You can't do that because that then undermines the rule of law and the whole Constitution. So, pass a law. It's okay if you, in fact, it's honorable to lie under oath if you're talking or answering questions about sex. Now, this got a response from the esteemed Arthur Schlesinger, Jr., who said this.
Far from advocating lying, I think lying is reprehensible. If you would bother to listen to my remarks or read my testimony, I say President Clinton's attempts to hide personal behavior are certainly disgraceful, but if they are deemed impeachable, then we reject the standards laid down by the framers of the Constitution. That seems to me the nub of the case. I conclude my testimony by saying one must hope that any president guilty of personal misconduct falling below the level of impeachable offenses will so rebuke and castigate himself and feel such shame in the eyes of his family, in the eyes of his friends and supporters, and in the eyes of history, that he will punish himself for his own self-indulgence, callousness, and stupidity. I really protest your interpretation of my position.
It's the only interpretation possible, sir. Sorry. We expect offenders to punish themselves? When did the Founding Fathers write that? I mean, here's an esteemed historian, a constitutional scholar, no less, who says, one must hope that any president guilty of committing personal misconduct falling below the level of impeachable offense will rebuke and castigate himself and feel such shame in the eyes of his family, friends, and supporters, and of himself that he'll punish his own self. And how do you do that? How does somebody punish himself? This is a new one in the annals of American jurisprudence. We leave it up to the guilty person, if it's less than impeachable, to impeach yourself, to punish yourself, or thank yourself. I mean, you could do that, too, for getting away with it. There's only one way to interpret Mr. Schlesinger's remarks. He doesn't believe that lying about sex is an impeachable offense. He thinks lying might be, but it has to be about a great matter of state, like why John Glenn went up in the space shuttle. If he lied about that, we might impeach him. Or if he lied about sending technology to the Chinese, we might lie about that, we might impeach him for that. If he lies about other things, matters of state, but not about sex. No, not it. Can't do that. So Inglis is all right. I guess we can't hold him to it. And let's just make it sanctionable here that you can lie about 6 facts you should. And Schlesinger says, well, I resent that interpretation, protest that interpretation of my remarks. Hey, I guess it's tough when you're Arthur Schlesinger Jr. and you have your remarks thrown back at you. Here's what you're saying, sir. No, that's not what I'm saying. Yes, it is. It's exactly what you're saying. You just don't like hearing what you've said, but it is what you were saying. So you have here a situation where the Constitution is the focal point. And does it mean anything? That's what this is really all about now, because you cannot just stop the process because of an election, much as these guys would like to. You know, there's Lindsey Graham, who is also a member of the committee, and made the rounds of the Sunday TV shows this past weekend, highly touted as a fresh Republican face of the future, is mentioned in a Boston Globe article today. And let me read the 2 paragraphs to you to put them in context. One avenue to a resolution could be through a group of 10 Judiciary Committee members, formed in part by Massachusetts Democrat Bill Delahunt. Members of the bipartisan group, which meets regularly for breakfast, are considered to be open to alternatives to impeachment. And in light of last week's elections, a key Republican in the group, Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, said he suggested to all GOP committee members yesterday that Clinton's misdeeds may warrant a lesser sanction than impeachment. Proportionality is being talked about now among committee Republicans, said Lindsey Graham. Now then, they must be listening to the elections. But you listen to the elections and go right ahead. But out there, and over there, and way over there, and turn around back there, you'll see is this thing called the Constitution. And there are people who still revere it and what it means, and do not want it to be weakened. And that's what motivates them, not the election results, not an attempt to reach out, not an attempt to moderate, not an attempt to be proportional here. But there obviously are some who do wish to moderate, to be proportional, and to reach out and to come up with something less. The only problem with it is that there isn't anything less in the Constitution. And some constitutional scholars have said that before you can censure, you have to vote impeachment. You have to vote out articles of impeachment, and then a Senate has to take it up, and the Senate is the place that anything like that would happen. But the House, you just can't say, okay, we're going to censure the guy. And what does it mean? If you look at how some people in life have been censured, in other walks of life, they have been really humiliated and severely punished. In the case of sports ownership, you've had owners of baseball teams banished from the league for a year, in addition to paying considerably large fines. The censure being talked about here is really nothing. It will contain no punishment. It will contain no shame, because I don't believe that's possible in this case. And it will basically add up to just a slap on the wrist and say, don't do it again. And there's no provision for this. There really isn't. It's going to have to be created constitutionally. And it can't just be derived out of whole cloth because it's the easier way to go. Got to take a break. We'll be back with more. Get some of your phone calls and a little discussion about the speech delivered to GOPAC last night by Newt Gingrich, the outgoing Speaker of the House. Stay with us, my friends. We're coming right back.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Is hair loss affecting your self-confidence? I'm Brian Reichenberg, the general manager for Kevis. For over 2 years, you've been hearing me tell you how Kevis has given me and thousands of listeners thicker, fuller, healthier-looking hair. Everyone knows there are drugs available for your hair. However, most people are concerned about the side effects and thus don't do anything to help themselves. For those of you who are concerned, you can now use our drug-free formula to improve your hair. Kevis has been clinically tested at leading universities and hospitals throughout Europe. Hundreds of thousands of men and women of all nationalities have used Kevis successfully. Since the U.S. patent was approved, Kevis is your drug-free alternative. Make the decision to do something now. Call toll-free 1-888-965-HAIR. Kevis is guaranteed. The only thing you have to lose is more hair. For full details, call toll-free 1-888-965-HAIR.
Goldsboro Nissan is Eastern North Carolina's fastest growing dealership. Goldsboro Nissan has the lowest prices on new and used Nissans every day. They've just received the new shipment of like new 98 Altima GXE sedans, only $14,995. Plus, when you finance with Goldsboro Nissan, get an extra $500 to $1,000 off or put the cash in your pocket. That makes the price as low as $13,995. Limited stock, price, or bank special could change without notice. Goldsboro Nissan, Highway 70 west of Goldsboro.
You better shop around. Once again, it's time to shop around for Christmas. Lay away those special items for your loved ones. You'll find no better place than Hollingsworth Discount Furniture and Bedding. Hollingsworth wants you to shop around. Then see Ken Hollingsworth for the lowest prices in town. Shop around. Then go to Hollingsworth Discount Furniture and Bedding, 3306 East Ash Street, next to Meadow Lane School, Goldsboro.
My twin brother David was killed in a car accident in rural Wisconsin. We had talked about organ donation, and knowing that those were his wishes, it wasn't scary. It just seemed like the right thing to do.
Share your decision to become an organ and tissue donor with your family today.
There was no question in our minds of what his wishes were, which really, I think, helped us as a family.
Organ and tissue donation. Share your life. Share your decision. Call 1-800-355-SHARE for a free brochure. A message from the Advertising Council and the Coalition on Donation.
They lurk in the forest under trees dark and green, or in the tall grasses where their spots can't be seen. Then they pounce like lightning, in hearts they strike fear. You'd better look quickly before they all disappear.
What do you want to leave your children? The story or the creatures who inspired it? Help save animals like the Brazilian jaguar, as well as their habitats. Phone World Wildlife Fund at 1-800-CALL-WWF. And help leave our children a living planet.
WGBR.
Okay, we're back. Rush Limbaugh. Now to the phones. Our number 1-800-282-2882. This is Bob in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm glad you called, sir. Hello.
Maha Rushy. I just want to say that I say we call the whole thing off. We're going to shoot ourselves in the foot. The American people are stupid. This election proved it. Let's go with the opposite of what our instincts are. We're not going to get anywhere with this impeachment hearing. Let's wait until the scumbag is out of office, and then we'll go ahead and proceed that way. I think we're going to have devastating results as far as the Republican Party goes if we try to proceed with this. There's division in the ranks. Everybody loves Bubba. Let's just forget about it. Let's wait until the idiot's out of office. What do you say about that?
Well, I disagree with you.
Well, we can.
By the way, I want to tell you this. I am very tempted to agree with you. I want to tell you how easy it is, how tempting, I should say, it is to say, yeah, the people have spoken. Yeah, let's cause as little harm to ourselves as we can. Let's go ahead and listen to the results of the election, and let's just drop this. Nobody wants it. Let's put it aside. Let's not bring any grief to ourselves. Yeah, that's the easy one. I mean, it's very, very tempting to do that. But my problem here, Bob, is history, leadership, and the Constitution.
Well, all that's been thrown out the window thus far, Rush. Everything's been thrown out the window with this administration. And that's what sickens me.
I don't care about this administration, and let me say this: I don't advocate this because I harbor any dream that Bill Clinton's going to be impeached. I don't harbor any dream whatsoever. I have no expectation he's going to be removed from office. I don't look at this process as a means whereby to do so. We know that there aren't going to be 67 votes in the Senate. At least we think we know. We can't imagine what there would be that would change the political outcome now. But the process was initiated. It was initiated with over 400 votes, Republicans and Democrats alike, on the floor of the whole House. And the Constitution requires the procedure go forth. History requires it. Leadership requires it. The Constitution here does not defer to election results, and neither should real leaders on a matter such as this. because the stakes are far greater. What's at stake now is seeing to it that the Constitution doesn't get urinated on. What's at stake here is see to it that the Constitution is not weakened for further generations. We all talk about the children, Bob. Everybody in America today talks about doing things for the children. Now, we generally confine those things to social programs like health care and education. But let me tell you something. The thing that keeps this country what it is the Constitution of the United States. And our continued allegiance to that document, which veritably defines, establishes, sets up this nation, dictates how this nation is to manage its affairs, how it is to be run. If you start chinking it, if you start allowing the Constitution to be torn apart, little by little, for the express purpose of saving yourself and your party a little grief, then you are doing great potential harm to future generations. People who are not yet born, people who are not yet conceived, people who are recently born, people who are 5 and 6 years old have every right to live in a constitutionally defined nation, the greatest nation on earth, just as much a right to live in one under that Constitution as you've had and I've had, our parents and our grandparents have had. It is every bit as important an issue for the children as all these other social programs are. Because you allow the Constitution to be, you allow the rule of law to be subordinated to election results. And you're not going to have immediate fallout, you're not going to have an immediate disintegration, but over time, nothing positive can happen from this. Only bad things can happen for the rule of law. There's already enough trouble. We do not need now to say that the rule of law and the Constitution all these years have been wrong about perjury, have been wrong about lying, have been wrong about the rule of law and how primarily it affects those who have the most power in this country. The Constitution, in its brilliance, drawn from Magna Carta, establishes the notion that no one citizen is more powerful than another before the law. We are all equal before the law. There are 115 people today who are in jail because they were guilty of lying. 3 of them are in jail because they were found guilty of lying about sexual matters in civil suits, civil cases. What do you tell them? What do you tell the people that have been called on the carpet? It won't work. It has nothing to do with Bill Clinton. Believe me, my friends, when I say this. I harbor no dream that any of this is going to result in Bill Clinton's removal from office. None whatsoever. It's not about that at all to me. It's about the sanctity and the meaning, the value, the worth, and the enduring nature of the Constitution of this country that makes this country what it is, aside from the people. We'll take a break. Be back with more in a moment.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Let me tell you the facts. Carbon monoxide is the #1 cause of poisoning deaths in the United States. Carbon monoxide's invisible and odorless. It's called a silent killer. Nighthawk carbon monoxide alarms by Kidde Safety are consistently rated #1 by an independent test lab. Protect your family today. Buy a Nighthawk carbon monoxide alarm. Nighthawk, the best carbon monoxide alarm you can buy. I know. I own 3. Know you're safe. Trust Kidde Safety products.
My name is Sandy Beachananda. The waves are my highways. Sea turtles my convertibles. The smooth backs of dolphins my minivans.
Okay, but the rest of us have to drive real cars, so why not call Geico Direct? One call could save you 15% or more on car insurance, even if your car has fins. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. That's 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
And so, Tom, do you have a list of candidates to replace Nolan as department head?
Yes, sir. Right here. First on the list is Ulrich. Responsible, hardworking, scoutmaster.
Doesn't he drive the Bronco? I think he's a little NRA for us. Who else is on the list?
Morrow.
Oh, you can move on.
Why?
Is bumper sticker Rush is right? I don't think we need any of that here.
Well, then there's McFarland.
An oppressive, heterosexual white male as department head? I don't think so.
What about Sanders, a real motivator? Honest?
Tell me you don't know about Sanders.
What?
Well, she keeps a Bible on her desk. Get the picture?
Well, that doesn't matter.
Well, sure. The next thing you know, the whole department will be handling snakes.
All right, I've always liked Winslow. Started in the mail.
Tom, in case you haven't noticed, he's a conservative.
Yeah.
And an African-American.
So?
Well, if he sold out his own people, can we trust him? Who's left?
Azumi.
The Asian, the mathematically challenged will feel threatened by him.
Well, that's the whole list.
A department full of people, and not one of them represents diversity. Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, ridiculous.
The Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies reminds you that true diversity includes everyone.
Crytel presents the Presidential Gold Collection. You'll get Fleetwood Mac, Three Dog Night, The Castaways, The Knickerbockers, and dozens more. It's the Presidential Collection from Crytel Records. Order now and receive as a bonus the Milli Vanilli Songbook. Girl, you know it's true. From the Crytel Gold and Platinum Treasury Collection, it's Presidential Gold exclusively from the EIB Network.
Never heard of this place. Kathy in Dahlonega, Georgia. Welcome to the program. Nice to have you on the EIB network.
Hi, it's Dahlonega, Georgia. It's about 75 miles north of Newt Gingrich's home.
Well.
And the rule of feeling that these government employees are creating as they go along is because of the mood of their jobs. You know, Rush, I was with the
Wait. The rule of feeling, did you mean to say that?
Yes.
The rule of feeling is...
You're saying the rule of law, and they're saying, no, it's the rule of feelings.
Some of them are, yes.
I think this is going to backlash on them greatly.
Who?
The Democrats.
How?
Well, first of all, if you go with the mood today, and today is that it's okay to accept Bill Clinton's lie, is it going to be okay to accept the lie of the female or the male who says they had sex with the CEO? Are they lying or not? The CEO is gone, no longer in the position. But did the person lie or not? How are we ever, if we don't get to the root of it, if we don't get to the rule of law and say we're not going to go on feelings, we're going to go through with this process, and yes, if it turns out that...
Quickly, we're not going to have time here for you to finish. Hold on through the break, Kathy, and then we'll conclude this when we get back.
You have to be at work by 8 a.m.
You have to file your taxes by April 15th.
You have to pretend you're like your brother-in-law.
You have to put the head back on my doll.
You have to dress casually on Fridays.
You have to set the table for my imaginary friend.
Ah, but you don't have to change oil exactly at 3,000 miles. As long as you use Kendall motor oil. Kendall is engineered so well, you have a cushion when you can't change oil exactly when you should. Now, we know this won't change your life, but it's a start.
You have to buy your son a set of drums.
You have to fix the roof now.
Kendall motor oil. Pour in the protection.
Distributed by Moffitt Oil Company of Goldsboro.
Michael Jordan for Shriners Hospitals.
You know, there are a lot of advantages to living in Chicago, not the least of which is the fact that one of the 19 orthopedic Shriners hospitals is located here. And that's how I met my good friend Carmen. The medical care at Shriners Hospitals is some of the best in the world for children with medical problems of the bones, joints, or muscles. If you know of a child that might benefit from the important work being done at Shriners Hospitals, please give us a call at 1
in some state
on Harchie.
If you love movies, listen up. Starz Movie Channel is 100% movies. New hit movies like Quentin Tarantino's latest hit, Jackie Brown, starring Pam Grier as a crafty flight attendant who attempts to outfox Samuel L. Jackson and Michael Keaton for $500,000. You'll see it first on Starz and only on Starz. So call 1-800-758-5555 to order. And remember, when I want movies, I want to see Starz.
My name is Sandy Beachananda. The waves are my highways. Sea turtles my convertibles. The smooth backs of dolphins my minivans.
Okay, but the rest of us have to drive real cars, so why not call Geico Direct? One call could save you 15% or more on car insurance, even if your car has fins. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. That's 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
President Clinton conferred again this morning with his national security advisors on Iraq, but made no decision on how to respond to the latest conflict over weapons inspections. More on the story from Kimberly Dozier in Baghdad.
Iraq's foreign minister says U.S. and British threats to use force against Iraq over the latest UN weapons dispute are reckless. Mohammed Saeed al-Sahaf told a Gulf TV station that military action could destabilize the region. He says the UN Security Council should be given time to reconsider the continuation of sanctions without pressure from the U.S. or Britain. He added that there should be a diplomatic solution to the crisis. Kimberly Dozier, Baghdad.
The Navy has ended its search for 3 flyers missing after an on-deck collision Sunday night on the carrier Enterprise. The 3 are presumed dead in the Atlantic. A couple of good signs for the economy. The government says productivity, important for rising living standards, improved in the summer quarter, with output per worker up 2.3%. Also, soybean farmers are going to have a record crop. Other grain crops also look good, based partly on good fall weather and big orders from Russia. America's schools are falling short in music and art education. Dan Raviv has details.
They can sing, they can set up a stage and lighting for a play, and they can make a collage. Those among the tests for what the government calls this report card on arts education. But the 8th graders who were assessed were bad in general at creating music, understanding drama, and writing about the meaning of a painting. All in all, says Education Secretary Richard Riley, a disappointment.
This neglect of arts education is simply inexcusable.
People have to realize that even in business and high technology, Americans who develop sensitivity to the fine arts do better. Dan Raviv, Washington.
The World Bank has come up with money to help the relief effort in Central America. Bank officials say they'll redirect some existing loans to send $201 million immediately to countries devastated by Hurricane Mitch. I'm John Hartshey.
Want to clean the whole house fast?
I was cleaning my kitchen with 409 spray, and I don't know, it was doing such a great job, I just kept on going. I ripped through the hall, whipped through the kitchen, zipped through the vents, even the bathroom was fast and easy.
Nothing can stop her, nothing can stop my 409.
Who knew 409 could work in all those rooms? It's like a major cleaning discovery.
Giddy up, 409.
Insulting a person whose neck is bigger than your head, taking a 2-year-old to the movies, discussing anything with your father-in-law.
We all do dumb things now and then. Fortunately, paying too much for car insurance doesn't have to be one of them, because a 15-minute call to Geico Direct could save you 15% or more.
Starting a bee circus.
So call Geico anytime. 1-800-947-AUTO. That's 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
This is NBC Radio News.
Police Department Sergeant John speaking.
Oh, please come quick. They're holding me hostage.
Now, calm down, ma'am. Can you try to describe them?
They're brown, ugly, and have antennas.
Ma'am?
They're roaches.
Roaches? Is that your last name?
That's their only name. They're bugs, for goodness sake.
Well, you don't need the police. You need Griffin Exterminating. They can wipe out any pest problem you've got.
Even a leech?
You've got leeches, too.
Just one.
Ma'am?
My brother-in-law.
For all your pest problems, call Griffin Exterminating. Whether it's termites, fleas, or roaches, Griffin Exterminating is sure to come to the rescue. Call 735-3928.
Well, it looks like we'll range between partly and mostly cloudy across the area this afternoon. A southerly breeze picking up speed across the region with a small chance of a sprinkle or shower showers still. We'll look for highs around 70 to 75. Then tonight, cloudy skies. We should see a line or two of gusty showers and thunderstorms move through overnight. We'll look for lows in the upper 50s to low 60s. And then on Wednesday, maybe a shower or two during the morning hours. Should see some partial clearing by around midday, with highs tomorrow 66 to 71. I'm Mike Moss at the Weather Center.
Greeting to you, conversationalists all across the fruited plain. This is the award-winning, thrill-packed, still-breathing, heart-pumping, heart-beating extremely loudly Rush Limbaugh program on the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. The telephone number, 800-282-2882. The email address, rush@eibnet.com. I want to go back now to Kathy, who is in Georgia, who was about to make a point here about Bob Inglis and lying and the rule of feelings. Go ahead, Kathy, and you get a little bit more time.
I appreciate that, but my biggest concern is the backlash is going to affect everybody, not just the Democratic Party, because there are people such as myself who left the Republican Party and went no party affiliate because of the confusion within the party, and when is the bell just going to ring as clear as it did maybe 30 or 40 years ago, where people understood what ground they were standing on? Now we're on the grounds of feelings. Now this is something that the socialists have adopted in these jobs programs. And this is where I blame the Republican Party for allowing them to have too many of our tax dollars to create the confusion and not hold them to anything, not put their feet to the fire.
Well, the blame is partially the Republicans, but don't forget, for 40 years, the Democrats ran the appropriations process in Congress and had a lot of say-so in how much money went to education and how it would be used, using the school lunch program as a means of dictating curricula. And it's not... You know, it's not just in other programs that you mentioned, but in the schools, too, is where all this feelings garbage is being taught. I really think, people, we're moving to the nation of moderates. The people are very proudly saying that. We're a nation of moderates, and moderates, of course, consult their feelings. And I don't know what's responsible for the trend. I do think that lurking deep in the background here is our strong economy, which enables people to pretty much go with a status quo and to seek nothing that would upset current circumstances, which are leading to swollen back pockets, 401ks, and so forth, even if it means enforcing the rule of law.
But you're saying a strong economy. First of all, what I want to know seriously from you, if you can help us figure out how they got the $70 billion surplus, why they're being allowed to call it a surplus, and did they stop the mechanism in which they got the funds from?
Well, now I don't understand your question. What was the mechanism whereby they got the $70 billion surplus?
Yes, and has that mechanism been stopped, or are we going to be bilked and literally have them...
Are you talking about the Social Security the trick that is played?
Yes, sir.
Well, Bob Livingston said on the Sunday show, ABC Sunday show with Sam Robertson and Sam Donaldson and Cokie Roberts, that the first thing that's going to change is that Social Security is not going to be used to offset any deficits that might... The first thing he's going to do is make sure that our accounting changes so the Social Security... as Gephardt says, the Social Security surplus is separate and stands alone and will not be used to balance anything else in the federal budget.
Do you think there's anything Bob Livingston can say to me here in Dahlonega, Georgia, that's going to get me to go sign up and re-register as a Republican?
There ought not be anything he can say. It ought to require action, Kathy. He ought to have to do a bunch of things. Republicans ought to have to do a bunch of things to encourage you to go back, if you want to the Republican Party. And the Democrats, of course, can participate in that, too. They could engage in activity that's so brazen, so unconstitutional, so frightening, so threatening, it would force you to align yourself with a party that does have a chance of beating them.
Okay, I blame myself. Hey, I voted for Perot. I mean, I collected petitions for him. Would I vote for him again? No. But now, am I going to go Republican, or am I just going to seek out another independent side?
Well, you know, whether you go Republican or not, in terms of party affiliation, is of secondary importance to me and the American people. What's of primary importance to me and the American people is you vote the right way, regardless how you register yourself, whatever you call yourself.
Well, if they're not going to go through with the impeachment process properly, perjury is wrong.
Madam, they are trying. They are doing their best to fight. It appears to me most of the Republicans are trying. There are some Republicans that are getting weak-kneed. Of course, the liberals on that committee want to go full-fledged the other way and drop it, but the chairman of the committee is not going to let it go. It doesn't sound to me like.
Well, they're not going to get me to rejoin their party or even listen to them anymore after this shenanigans that they've played over the last couple of years with putting their hands in their pocket. I can remember George Bush. He always had a golf club in his hand. I mean, I wanted to see some action from the man, not relaxation. And as far as George W., I can't imagine what that man has to offer us right now. He's making himself known as a good governor. Where is he presidential material?
Well, time will tell. That's what the next 2 years are for. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it's one thing to be mad. It's one thing to be disappointed. It's one thing to be frustrated. It's quite another to want to be. I get the sense from some of you that you want to be mad, that you want to be upset, that you're just possessed with finding the negative in everything and focusing on it and saying, see? Now, it's easy to sit on the sidelines and point fingers and say, those worthless, fat white guys, what do they do? It's quite another. You know, one of the central themes of this program has always been that your life and what becomes of you and your family and your life is far more up to you and what you do than what comes out of Washington, D.C. Most of what comes out of Washington, D.C., as we now know, is going to get in your way. People, there are very few people in this, well, I say very few, there are way too many, and you can see the circumstances in which they live. There are far too many people in this country who get up every day and have absolutely no motivation. They are inspired not at all. They simply wait for the next federal program. And in some cases, they don't even wait for a federal program. They wait for a federal pronouncement. They wait for somebody to say they're going to do something, and that satisfies them. Then they somehow muster the courage to go through the day. And I didn't think that's what we're all about. We're not about waiting. Sure, we can demand of our own leaders that they shore up our end and lead us and accomplish things we want. I'm not commenting on that. But at the same time, there comes a time where you just get off your duff and get to work and stop complaining. To sit here and say, what's George Bush got for president? You're just looking for negatives here. He's not got the nomination yet. Nobody does. That's a long road to go. It's by no means settled. So don't get yourself in the trap of being negative, expecting the negative, wanting the negative so you can be right about expecting it, because you end up negative. And it's not becoming. It's not attractive. And you don't build anything on the negative. You really don't. I don't mean to be hard-hitting and brusque and cold-hearted and mean-spirited here, if that's how you're interpreting this. But that's... I wrote in one of my books, first chapter, my success is not determined by who wins elections. And what I meant by that was I was countering the usual critics of me, who are both liberal and members of the press, who tried to say that, you know, if Democrats are in the White House, I'm going to be just fine because I have something to complain about. And I've always said it doesn't matter to me who wins elections or who's in the White House. If it does, if my success depends on that, then I'm not in control of it, am I? And what kind of intelligence is that, to set yourself up in life or in your career or whatever, to be not in control of it, to be dependent on what other people do, particularly other people as large as the voting population of this country? I'm not going to make myself a prisoner to that, and neither should you. And you shouldn't make yourself a prisoner to whatever legislation does or does not come out of Washington, D.C. What you'd better do is prepare yourself for the legislation that comes out of there, because most of it's going to get in your way, and you're going to have to be creative and innovative and find a way around it. In most cases, because most of the legislation, by definition, that comes out of Washington is going to deny you a freedom here or there. And most of it, a lot of it doesn't make any sense. I mean, things are just cockeyed and backwards. The biggest evil in America today is cigarettes. Biggest evil. Smoking. Biggest evil. That's the one. We can get all fired up about that. But people who commit murder or commit other serious crimes, we have feelings for them. We want to understand the circumstances that may have driven them to it. That's not their fault. But smokers are the modern incarnation of evil. And they do it themselves. Nobody is responsible for them. They're evil. They're mean. They're killing everybody. It's amazing. We can be whipped into a negative frenzy if we allow ourselves. Two other things here. Kathy, thanks for the call. Two other things. Response to some email. A number of, I'm sure, well-intentioned Christians and members of the so-called religious right have written me emails since the conclusion of yesterday's program, demanding an explanation or expressing shock, outrage, and anger over a comment I made yesterday. I was seeking to explain to a liberal, or maybe a moderate, I'm not sure which it was, why members of the pro-life community are single-issue people. And what I did was repeat a story that I have heard in email from over 100 people who've written me over the course of the past couple of months. The phrase, "I don't want the blood of the death of babies on my hands when I meet God," is not something I made up. It's something that I have received in mail from Christians who are explaining to me why it is that they will not vote for anybody who is not pro-life, because they don't want to meet their maker with blood on their hands. That's their phrase. I'm getting all sorts of hate mail from Christians who are telling me I don't understand what salvation of the soul is all about if I'm willing to say. I'm just repeating what I've heard from members of your own ranks. All I'm trying to do is explain to liberals why you are allegiant to what you're allegiant to. I have had email from people claiming to be Christians who tell me that they fear going to hell if they vote for somebody who's pro-choice. So I repeated that yesterday. Well, that engendered a profound response from people who tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. You better talk to the people in your own group. I'm just repeating what they're telling me. Now, the second thing. Got some emails as I was trashed last night on Michael Reagan's show because of something I said on the program yesterday. What did I say yesterday on the program? I said that I had been told that one of the reasons Newt Gingrich resigned from the speakership is that he had been blackmailed by 6 or 7 Republicans who had made it clear to him that if he did survive the Republican caucus vote and was voted to be Speaker by the Republicans, then when the whole House voted for it, that they would not vote for him. I was told this by people who are in a position to know. I was not told this by Newt himself. I was told this Friday night, in a conversation with some friends very close to Newt. Now, apparently, and I did not name any names because I don't know who they are, but apparently last night on the Michael Reagan show and other places, I'm being trashed as making something up and lying about it. This was, by the way, if you've heard Newt talk about he had a conference call on Friday afternoon with several members of the Republican caucus, and it was after that conference call that he made the comment that he didn't want to participate in something that resulted in the cannibalization or that there were cannibals of the process on the Republican side. It was the fact that he was told that there were 6 or 7 Republicans that would vote for a Democrat for Speaker. rather than Newt. That's how outraged they were. He said, I'm going to take my party down the tubes if I stay around. If they're telling me the truth, I cannot continue here as Speaker. I would give the speakership to the Democrats. I'm not going to do that. I resign first. Now, all I'm telling you is this what I was told from people who are very close to Newt, and I believed them. And I'm sorry if you think that I'm sitting here making things up or coming up with something that is what you think is an outrageous defense of Newt Gingrich. That was not my intention in making this statement. It was no more than what I always do here, tell you what I learned, tell you what I know, for the express purpose of keeping you informed. Now, I don't know whose nose is out of joint over this, but somebody's nose is out of joint sufficiently enough to make me think that, yeah, what I was told was probably true. I didn't doubt it when I heard it. In fact, I don't think it's anything new, to tell you the truth. I think these threats have been going around at Newt for a long time. There's been no question that inside the Republican caucus in the House of Representatives, there are several who literally cannot stand him as the leader. They think he's the biggest problem they ever had in the House of Representatives, and they've wanted him out. So, and he's gone. It isn't any big deal now. But I am not going to sit here and be told that I'm simply manufacturing or making things up here on this program for whatever misguided or misunderstood so-called purpose that some of you people might conclude that I have. At any rate, we'll take a break here, come back and listen to a little bit of Newt's farewell address last night before GOPEC. 1-800-282-2882 is the phone number. Stay with us.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Did you know that you can catch a cold any time of year? Well, one thing's for sure, any time is the wrong time for a cold. So get ready to attack those cold symptoms whenever they attack you with Coldies. There's only one Coldies, the most effective and popular cold fighter in the country. Families have been using Coldies to stop passing a cold around in their homes. Hardworking people who don't have time for a cold use Coldies at work, at school, at the gym, even on vacation. There is no cold season that Coldies can't fight. That's because Coldies is the only lozenge with the exclusive zinc gluconate glycine formula known as ZIG. So whether you're going to work or going on vacation, be sure to pack your Coldies and enjoy the sunshine. That's homeopathic, all-natural, non-sedating, fast-acting, clinically proven Coldies. There is no substitute anywhere. Coldies is available at Walgreens, Kmart, Osco Savon, Jewel, Albertsons, Thrifty Payless, and fine stores everywhere.
You get out of bed in the morning, you go to turn up the heat, but the furnace isn't working, and you're ready to retreat.
Before your home catches cold this winter, call your participating York heating dealer. When he installs your choice of selected high-efficiency York heating systems by December 31st, you'll get 5 years of York Care parts and labor protection absolutely free. Call him today at 1-800-910-YORK for warmth without worry. Free. That's 1-800-910-YORK.
When you need floor covering, you want the best for the dollars you spend. Knowles Carpet is your Carpet One associate store, offering quality at money-saving prices through the buying power of over 900 stores. Knowles also has Karastan Oriental rugs and is offering savings up to 64% off suggested retail on many discontinued patterns. Also care for your carpets and rugs with the Dry Cleaner Maintain. Only $18.50 for a 4-pound bucket. Knowles Carpet, 2311 Wayne Memorial Drive, Goldsboro. Quality floor covering, expertly installed.
Cooler temperatures are here for a while in Wayne County. If you haven't had your heating system serviced this season, you need to call Hasty Air Conditioning at 735-4430. Hasty is your local Carrier dealer. They can give you a free estimate on a new Carrier heat pump, gas pack, or oil furnace. If your system needs replacing, Carrier's high-efficiency systems can save you big on your heating bill. Whether it's a new unit or you need to have the old one serviced, call Hasty Air Conditioning, your Carrier dealer, at 735-4430 for all your heating needs.
Carrier Conditioning Indoor Weather.
In today's busy business world, McCain Employment Services saves you time and money.
I make one phone call. I tell them what my needs are. Their representatives come to my office. They find out exactly what type of personnel I need. They get the job description. They provide the screening, the training, and all the assistance.
When you need temporaries, call McCain Employment Services at 527-8367 or 735-5200.
Life insurance for retirement, life insurance for families, life insurance for estate planning and business partners. Whatever your reason, Wayne Realty and Insurance Company offers the life insurance to help you reach your financial goals. Plans for the future are easier to reach with a well-planned life insurance program from Wayne Realty and Insurance Company. Call today for complete analysis of your life insurance needs. Wayne Realty and Insurance Company, Goldsboro.
WGBR.
The Excellence in Broadcasting Network, Rush Limbaugh, and let's grab a phone call here before we hear a little bit of Newt, because the phone call's about Newt. It's Jeff in Garfield Heights, Ohio. Hello, sir, and welcome.
Good afternoon, Rush. 99% dittos from the heartland of America.
Thank you.
Listen, the GoPack speech last night, I thought it was absolutely brilliant, passionate, moving. He was very articulate. This is the old Newt that I remember seeing, a year ago, 2 years ago. And this just brings back memories of, how passionate I was about politics back then, which seems like eons ago. And I've been so upset of all the things that have been happening lately after the from the election, since the election. People are just in droves been running away from Newt Gingrich. The only reason why the Republicans are still in power was because of Newt Gingrich. If it wasn't for him, people like Steve Largent wouldn't even be in politics, maybe not even be in politics or the Republican Party. And it frosts me to see people on these talk shows, Republicans, people from our party, going after people in our party when there are so many other things to go after in the Democrat Party, besides Bill Clinton. It's incredible. I have been so upset the last few days because of...
Well, so have they, because they agree with you, and they are curious why those things weren't pursued. Look, I think Newt did the right thing.
By resigning me?
Yeah, I do. I think he did the right thing.
I don't think he had a choice.
I asked well, maybe not, but I asked a question early on in the program when I first referenced this speech.
Mm-hmm.
I said, a lot of people are asking, where's this been? Yeah, it's a great speech, but where's it been? Why wasn't this speech given last week?
I heard that.
Why wasn't this speech given last month? Why are we waiting until after the election for all this stuff? I think, and I can tell you a little bit about this, I think that Newt became a prisoner of his own position, a prisoner of his own job, a prisoner of his own position. There are certain things that as Speaker of the House he apparently felt uncomfortable doing or felt intimidated about doing or what have you. Now the burden is lifted. The reasons for not saying these kinds of things as Speaker of the House have been removed, and I think you could probably expect to hear much more of this kind of thing from Newt, which is also going to be a positive, wouldn't you say?
I absolutely agree. Do you think that possibly the reason why we haven't heard this kind of stuff from Newt is because some of the rest of the people in his party sort of put a muzzle on him and maybe told him that, we really don't need to talk about stuff like this. The American people don't care about it.
Well, I think two things. The muzzle was placed there by others, but it was also placed by himself as well. One of the most unfortunate but undeniable facts in American politics today is that Newt Gingrich became the demon in people's eyes that the Democrats had hoped to make him. And it was by mutual consent, Newt and other party leaders, that he should go to the background and not say much so as not to enable the Democrats to rise up and demonize him, make himself an invisible target, less of a target that way. I'll continue with this in just a moment. Blimpie founder Tony Kanza wants everybody to know that just because he calls his most popular sandwich the Blimpie Best, that does not mean he's playing favorites. The Blimpie Best is made with quality prosciutto, capicola, salami, ham, provolone, and choice toppings, all on freshly baked bread. All of the Blimpie sandwiches are beautiful things. So don't play favorites. Stop by Blimpie's and try a Blimpie Best today, and then spend the rest of the week trying their other tasty sandwiches. Blimpie, it is a beautiful thing.
It's time for a look at local news. I'm Thomas Vick on 1150 WGBR. A mess over Surrey Street in the east part of the city of Goldsboro. The road has been closed for over 30 years by a court's order. Now some want it reopened, some don't. Last night, residents Jerry Farrell Jr., Toby Suggs, and Walter Deans appeared before the council, saying the council should do everything possible to reopen Surrey Street because its closure has forced a tremendous inconvenience on the people of Green Meadows 1 and Green Meadows 2 subdivisions. The men noted residents now have to go down to Highway 111 and turn around to go to Ash Street, calling it going around your elbow to get to your thumb. And to top that off, school buses pick up students on the highway instead of going into the subdivision because Surrey Street is closed. The men reiterated how dangerous this is and the whole situation needs to be reevaluated. The men were speaking during a general appearance before the board where they had to write ahead of time and get permission to appear before the council since there was no scheduled public hearing on the matter. Well, on the other hand, there was about 30 people in the audience at last night's city council meeting that could not speak because they did not get permission ahead of time to appear before the board. According to resident leader Henny Carlisle, the group found out at the last minute the men were going to address the council, so they decided to come and hear the presentation. Carlisle says the people in the audience represented a portion of the 95% of the residents in Green Meadows 1 that want the street to stay closed. Carlisle says she has a petition with their signatures saying they want the street to remain closed because it's against the law for it to be there. Carlisle says the street goes against the original restrictive covenants that called for Green Meadows 1 and 2 to be cul-de-sac communities with no streets or roads through them. Carlisle said it's the feeling of those that signed the paper that they bought their houses in Green Meadows because of the original covenants calling for no roads. It was that way then, and they want it to stay that way now. The courts agree that the street is illegal and it should have never been put there in the first place. The court originally ruled the street to be closed because it violated the covenants. The defendant then appealed, and the appellate court reportedly ruled the street be closed and the land be divided up. As it stands now, the street is closed. Mayor Hal Plunk says all the comments made about Surrey Street will be taken into consideration, but as far as the city council doing anything, he's not sure there is anything the council can legally do. The retail price of gasoline across Wayne County remains cheap given low crude oil prices and dropping demand. A gallon of regular unleaded gas now in Wayne County will cost you about 90 cents a gallon. That's good compared to the nationwide average of $1.08 per gallon, which is even down nearly a penny from 2 weeks ago. That's a look at local news. I'm Thomas Vick on 1150 WGBR.
Well, cloud cover should be rather variable across the region this afternoon with an increasing southerly breeze and still a small chance of a sprinkle or shower here and there. We'll look for highs around 70 to 75 degrees. Tonight, cloudy. We'll have a couple of bands of gusty showers and thunderstorms moving into and across the area overnight. Look for lows in the upper 50s to low 60s. Most of that activity moving off to the east early tomorrow. Could see a lingering shower in the morning. We'll look for partial clearing by around lunchtime. Highs tomorrow, 66 to 71. I'm Mike Moss at the Weather Center.
WGBR.
We're back on the cutting edge of societal evolution. Rush Limbaugh and the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. Newt obviously became a prisoner of his own position, and for whatever reason, did not feel confident or comfortable making a speech as he made last night, earlier this year. I don't know why, but I'm of the opinion that you're going to hear much more of this kind of thing from him now. I think he was jointly muzzled, a decision made by himself and other Republicans, since he was such a lightning rod, and that was terribly unfortunate. You know, I've known Newt Gingrich personally for a number of years and have been aware of him and respected him for even longer than that. It goes back to the early 1980s. and the special orders that he conducted on the floor of the House of Representatives. And I can tell you, for whatever it's worth to anybody, that a kinder, nicer, gentler man you'll never meet, a more unthreatening person you'll never meet. The image that was successfully crafted of him is as far from the truth as anybody's image I've ever seen is far from the truth. It's so, this Gingrich that stole Christmas, all of those magazine covers, the so-called mean-spirited newt, doesn't exist. There is no such person. But yet, it had been, that's what makes me just laugh myself silly when I read this guy and his op-ed piece in the New York Times today said the American people aren't spinnable. They're totally spinnable. American people have been totally spun about Newt Gingrich, but it was accomplished. It was a done deal. He had been spun. His image had been made into what it was, but it was so opposite of the truth that it hurt all the people who knew him and know him. I think he did his best under the circumstances, but after a while, he just couldn't overcome it. It got to the point where members of the House said, look, we're not going to be able to get anything done because no matter what we do, if he's here, it's going to be mean-spirited Newt, the Gingrich stole Christmas proposing this, and we're all going to be tarred and feathered by it. And so the move has been made to get rid of the demonized image and try to replace it with people who are obviously going to do whatever they can to avoid the same type of image being crafted anew about them. But if anybody thinks that the liberals' strategy of demonizing Republicans is going to change now that Newt's gone, they've got another thing coming. I can't predict how it's going to happen, but I can predict to you that it will. In fact, you know what I suspect? I suspect they will continue to use Newt to do it. I suspect that what you will hear is that, you know, whenever Largent proposes something, or Bob Livingston, or whoever it is, Jennifer Dunn, whoever, the J.C. Watts, pick your Republican leader, whoever proposes something, you'll hear things like, I wonder if they're still talking to Newt. This sounds so much like Newt. This sounds just like the mean-spirited stuff that Newt used to support. You wait. Just because he's no longer in the speakership and no longer in the House doesn't mean they're not going to try to tie whatever the House does to Newt. As long as it works, they'll do it. If it doesn't work, then they'll demonize somebody else. They will find a way to do it. Because we know that they don't have to be truthful to succeed in demonizing and discrediting their opponents. Because they have the willing accomplices in the press who want to laugh at the ease and the ability to do it along with them. At the end of the day, they want to get together, pour a couple of adult beverages, say, man, isn't this easy how we're able to craft these guys as a bunch of Satans? And they'll marvel at their technique. They'll marvel at their strategy. They will marvel at the ease with which they're able to do all this. The members of the press and the liberal leadership, the Democratic Party, that work jointly to do all this. Anyway, I want to let you hear a little bit of what Newt had to say last night in his farewell address to GOPAC. Not in any particular order. This drew a pretty big applause line last night. See what you think of this.
And let me say, and I hope we can drive this home to every Republican, every conservative, and every taxpayer in this country. The image of a President Al Gore and a Democratic Congress should be more than enough to unify us in 2 years of very diligent hard work.
I don't know about that. Republican unity, we talked about it yesterday. There is no central thing or theme around which the Republicans seem to be able to unify. The Democrats can. The leftists can unite around one very easy thing for them, very simple thing to them: big government. Larger government, more intrusive government. They all, despite their disagreements, they all can unify around that, my friends. They sure can. Makes it easy. What are we going to unify around? Do you think, based on the last election, that the disparate factions of the Republican Party will be unified at the thought of Al Gore in a Democratic Congress? I would say to you that there are members of the Republican Party who would say, all right, you don't give me what I want, you don't vote the way I think you should, I'm going to see to it that we get Al Gore in a Democratic Congress so you can find out what it's like to be in the minority and have a life or a situation that you don't like. There are a lot of people in the Republican Party who have an I'll show you mentality aimed at the leaders of the Republican Party or at the other factions, members of the other factions. Fine. You don't think my issues are enough to be primary and up front? Fine. I'll give you Al Gore, Democratic Congress, and I'll keep making sure that the Democrats win until you get the message. You better listen to us. And you got all three factions. I think you got possibilities in all three factions who would do that. Now, I'm going to say something because I don't care. I've had the criticism. I've had people tar and feather me. I've had people try to do everything they can to demonize me. They can't do any more than they already have. But there's something else that you could say along these lines. Oh, my God, Al Gore in a Democratic Congress. The reason most people aren't going to say it is because the charge of racism will immediately follow. But since I've already been accused of that for 14 years, they can't pile it on again. But my comment, I assure you, has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with substance and issues, which all my comments have everything to do with. But how about John Conyers as a member of the Socialist International? John Conyers, who is, and let me find the official name of the organization, John Conyers, one of 5 members of the House Judiciary Committee, who is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. Democratic Socialists of America is the principal United States affiliate of the group Socialist International. There are 58 members of the House Progressive Caucus, 58 Democrats in the House of Representatives, who are in effect members of the Democratic Socialists of America. They call themselves the House Progressive Caucus. They have an agenda that's called the Progressive Agenda. The 5 members of the Democrats in the House who are on the Judiciary Committee, who are members of the Democratic Socialists of America, are John Conyers, Barney Frank, Maxine Waters, Bobby Scott of Virginia, and Gerald Nadler of New York. What is their agenda? Their specific agenda includes cutting defense spending by 50%, a massive government public works program to ensure full employment. In other words, government job creation, Canadian-style health care, single-payer health care, and broader affirmative action programs in hiring, promotion, and scholarship. They want more affirmative action. Conyers, Barney Frank, Maxine Waters, Bobby Scott, Gerald Nadler. Those 5 are on the Judiciary Committee. Other members include Sheila Jackson Lee, Charles Rangel. You pick it pretty much. The liberal left wing of this party. Barney Frank, as I say, is a member. I'm drawing a blank on some of the others, but it's a profound. And by the way, the membership knows no boundaries. You've got male, female, black, white. You've got every demographic category possible as members of this group. Now, in addition to envisioning President Al Gore and a Democratic Congress, envision Chairman of the Judiciary Committee, John Conyers. Envision Chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, the committee that writes tax legislation, Charles Rangel. Now, see, since these 2 men are black, the liberal reaction, there goes Rush again. He's out, he's a racist communist. And I'm just telling you, race has nothing to do with what I'm saying here at all. Those are the ranking minority members right now who, the Democrats ever get back to the House, are going to end up as those 2 committee chairmen. And they are Conyers, I mean, you've had a chance to see what he believes. You've had a chance, and Rangel as well. He's fairly prominent. These guys are hard leftists, folks. More of Newt on why he resigned. Listen, let me take a break before we get to that. We'll come back after the break, play you some more of Newt. We'll get to some comments from you after that. Stay with us. Here's the number, 800-282-2882. Don't go away.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
You, my loyal listeners out there, will recall that some months ago I called 1-800-631-BOZE and ordered 10 Bose Wave radios to give away as presents. Well, I have heard rave reviews on everything from the color options, like Imperial White or Graphite Gray, to its versatility. The Bose Wave radio has 6 AM and 6 FM presets, input jacks to connect a VCR, a TV, or CD player, and each Bose Wave radio comes with dual alarms and a compact remote. Now, the sound quality on a Bose can be summed up in one word: unrivaled. The Bose Wave radio takes bass to a whole new level. Turn up the volume and you will be enveloped in its rich and full sound. So I want you to call 1-800-631-BOZE and order a Bose Wave radio today. The people at Bose will give you a 30-day trial. You can't lose. You get a great radio, you get 30 days to try it out, and you get to experience audio the way it was meant to be experienced. So call today. The number again, 1-800-631-BOZE.
Hello, folks. I'm Keith Murray, owner and general manager of Keith Murray's Toyota Goldsboro. Folks, I know you can buy a new Toyota many places, but what you can't get other places is the hassle-free way we do business at Keith Murray's Toyota Goldsboro. If you want one of the best selections of new Toyotas in eastern North Carolina with the promise of lower prices, come to Keith Murray's Toyota Goldsboro. If you want service satisfaction above the industry average, you need to come to Keith Murray's Toyota Goldsboro. Every employee in our store has been instructed to let no customer leave until they are completely satisfied. That's why my name is on the front of the building. If for some reason you're not completely satisfied, I want you to let me know. At Keith Murray's Toyota Goldsboro, we know that a happy customer will tell 10 people and an unhappy customer will tell 20 people. At Keith Murray's Toyota Goldsboro, we don't have unhappy customers. Come see us at Keith Murray's Toyota Goldsboro. You'll love the way we do business. My name's Keith Murray, and I'll guarantee it.
My cousin Doreen wrote the book on failed relationships.
Still looking for somebody to keep her warm at night, huh?
I told her to call the guys at Jackson & Sons, and just as she was getting the wrong idea, I said Jackson & Sons.
The heating and air guys.
Right. Doreen's central air system's been giving her trouble for years.
And Jackson & Sons can fix it.
I told her they'd precision tune it so it'd run practically like new, because Jackson cleans and adjusts things others only look at. It's the best money she'll ever spend.
Help her out a lot more than that facial she got last week.
Hush.
You know, she might need a new one.
A new face?
A new central air system.
Oh, well, Jackson & Sons can help there, too. They install the best equipment like the Carolina Comfort System by Train.
It's hard to stop a train.
She'll save money and be warm this winter and cool next summer. And right now, she can get a 10-year parts and labor warranty free.
No repairs for 10 years. That's quite a dowry.
And Jackson & Sons guarantees she'll be happy, so she's going to call.
Well, I'd hope so. That's a lot more than she's gotten from most men.
Millen.
WGBR.
Hi, welcome back. Rush Limbaugh, the EIB Network. All right, Newt Gingrich in his GOPAC speech last night, why he resigned. Can't hear it.
Our majority is so vital. And the challenge of the year 2000 is so important. I had to make a decisive choice between my own interests and what I believe to be the more important cause of the country and my party. On Friday, it became clear to me that if I were to remain in the House, I would be an excuse for divisiveness and factionalism. The ideas are too big, the issues are too important for any one person to put their office above the good of the country and the party. That is why I announced my retirement. on Friday. I had worked 40 years since I was a 15-year-old high school freshman in 1958 to achieve a House Republican majority. Through GOPAC and the National Republican Congressional Campaign Committee, I had crisscrossed the country for candidates for 20 years.
So there he says that on Friday it became clear to me that if I were to remain in the House, I would be an excuse for divisiveness and factionalism. He was told some things that made it abundantly clear to him that if he remained, he may not be Speaker, that there were people who were prepared to vote for a Democrat. We now continue with Newt.
No one wants to recognize that when we became a majority in January 1995, the projection for the deficits after the 1993 tax increase, after the Democrats' so-called deficit reduction, the projection of the deficits over the next 11 years was $3,100 billion of additional debt. Today, the projection is for a surplus of $1,600 billion. And I think we Republicans have to establish a couple of principles. First, that surplus belongs to the American taxpayer, not the Washington bureaucrat.
Stop the tape here a minute. This is where I say I disagree with that. This notion that we have to establish a couple of... I thought we had established those principles way back in 1980. I thought we had established the principle that the money in Washington is actually your money. That all money Washington has is not theirs, it's yours. They get it by taking it from you. Now, I think this is an indication of where things got off track, that we now, in 1998, have to say that we need to establish a couple of principles. First, that the surplus belongs to the American taxpayer, not the Washington bureaucrat. Now, I'm proceeding under the assumption on this program that 10 years ago we established that here. I think this is an indication of what went wrong. Apparently, some people in Washington on our side love to talk about Reagan and being Reagan, but all they wanted to do was talk about it. This befuddled me when I heard this last night. We have to establish a couple of principles. Now, they have been established, and they were let go. If they weren't let go, they weren't acted upon. Now, he continued with his remarks. We'll pick it up at that point. The tape again. Look, listen to how long that applause goes on. You hear that applause? That applause is for tax cuts. That's what all this means. That applause is for tax cuts. This is GOPAC. This is a group that's been around for a long, long time. That applause is way too long. It's way too long. This should have been established principle, in fact, a long time ago. This does not deserve it. Should not be reacted to as though, hey, I've got a new idea here, folks. We got a new idea. We're going to suggest that the surplus belongs to the American people. That all money in Washington belongs to the American people. This, way, way too much applause. We've applauded this I don't know how many times. And one of the reasons our people are in trouble is because they've applauded it so many times, we still now have to establish it as a principle. Apparently it hasn't been a principle that's been guiding us.